This baby girl's heroic rescue of a German shepherd will leave you speechless. Here's what happened next. The sound was barely there, a soft cry, hidden beneath concrete and chaos. What followed was a journey so unbelievable, even those who witnessed it struggled to explain it. This is the kind of story that hurts your heart, and then heals it. If you've ever doubted kindness, stay with us. This one's for you. The storm was relentless that evening, rain slashing against the windows like an urgent warning, thunder crashing as if the sky itself was breaking apart. Inside a small, dimly lit home on the edge of a quiet town, a tiny figure stood frozen by the window. She was barely more than a toddler, a baby girl whose innocent eyes were wide with a mix of fear and wonder, yet beneath that innocence was something deeper, something that set her apart. This little girl, no more than 3 years old, was about to do something no one expected, a heroic act that would change the lives of everyone involved. Outside, a German shepherd lay trapped in a metal cage, half submerged in murky floodwaters. The dog's fur was soaked, heavy with cold rain, its eyes pleading silently for help. Alone, scared, and unable to break free, it was a heartbreaking sight that would leave anyone who saw it shaken to the core. But no one had come yet to save the loyal animal. No hand reached out to unlock the cruel prison it was caught in. Until the baby girl appeared. From the moment she spotted the cage, something inside her stirred, an invisible thread of connection, a whisper only she could hear. While others saw a helpless dog and a dangerous storm, she saw a chance to act, a spark of hope amidst despair. There was no hesitation in her tiny steps as she slipped out of the house and into the cold, wet night, her small hands reaching toward the cage with a determination far beyond her years. What happened next was nothing short of miraculous, a silent rescue led by the purest heart, a child's instinct that refused to let fear win. This is not just a story about a dog or a child. It's a tale of bravery, of unexpected heroes rising from the most unlikely places. It's about how innocence can break through the darkest moments, how a fragile voice can speak volumes without uttering a word. What you're about to witness will pull at your heartstrings and leave you breathless. The bond between this baby girl and the German shepherd is something rare, something extraordinary, and it challenges everything we think we know about courage and love. You may wonder how a child so young could face such danger alone. You may question what force drove her to act when others stood still. But the answer lies deep in the silence of that stormy night. A quiet strength, a whisper of hope, and a connection that defies explanation. And as the cage door slowly creaked open, as water splashed and the dog took its first free breaths, the impossible became real. Hold your breath, because what happens next will blow your mind. This rescue is not just about survival. It's about transformation, about the magic that can happen when hope meets action. The baby girl's story doesn't end here, it only begins. And the journey that follows will touch your soul and restore your faith in the power of love. Stay with us as we unravel this incredible tale step by step, moment by moment. You'll meet characters whose lives were forever changed by this night. You'll feel the tension of every second, the heartbreak of past wounds, and the unstoppable force of a child's pure heart. This is more than just a rescue. It's a miracle that will leave you speechless. So, are you ready to discover what this baby girl did? Are you prepared to witness a story of hope and heroism that will stay with you long after the last word? Then don't blink, because every moment counts, and the adventure is about to unfold. In the heart of a quiet, close-knit town nestled between rolling hills and winding rivers, lived a baby girl named Lily. The town was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, and the streets were lined with old oak trees that whispered stories of the past. It was a peaceful place, but for Lily and her family, peace had often felt just out of reach. Lily lived with her mother, Sarah, and her grandfather, Tom, in a modest farmhouse at the edge of town. The house was surrounded by fields and a small forest, a sanctuary not just for the family but for the many animals Tom cared for. After retiring from his job as a veterinarian, Tom dedicated his days to rescuing and healing animals that had nowhere else to go. His love for creatures great and small was known throughout the town, and he had a special bond with his granddaughter. Lily was his sunshine, a bright spark of joy in a world that had not always been kind to them. From a very young age, Lily showed an unusual connection with animals. Even as a baby, she would giggle at the sight of the neighborhood dogs, reaching out to touch their soft fur. The dogs seemed to sense her gentle spirit. Strays would often gather around her when she played in the yard, lying patiently at her feet as if waiting for her to speak their secret language. Lily's eyes held a kindness that went beyond words, a silent empathy that made her a natural friend to every creature she met. But life had not been easy for this little family. Just a year before the fateful night, Sarah had suffered a severe illness that left her weak and unable to care for Lily the way she wanted. The worry weighed heavily on Tom's shoulders as he balanced his veterinary work with raising his granddaughter. Sarah's illness was a shadow that stretched over their home, but their love kept them fighting. Tom often told Lily stories to keep her spirits high, weaving tales of courage and hope, hoping to shield her from the harsh realities of their lives. One of the most beloved animals on Tom's sanctuary was a German shepherd named Rex. Rex wasn't just any dog. He was a loyal guardian, gentle with the animals and children alike. He had been rescued from a dire situation himself, found abandoned and injured after being used for cruel experiments. Tom had nursed him back to health, and Rex had become a symbol of survival and resilience for the entire family. But that peace was shattered one stormy evening. A group of men from a shady research company had been seen near the town's outskirts. Their intentions were murky, but whispers around town spoke of illegal experiments on animals, and rumors of stolen dogs began to spread. It was no coincidence that Rex, the gentle giant with a courageous heart, became their target. They had trapped him in a rusty metal cage, leaving him near a creek prone to flooding during heavy rains. The cage was submerged slowly by rising waters, and Rex was left to face a grim fate. The circumstances that led to Rex's captivity were frightening. The men were part of a secretive operation, using the dogs for tests that no one in town wanted to believe were happening. The local authorities had been slow to act, hesitant to challenge such shadowy figures. Meanwhile, Rex's silent pleas for help echoed only in the night, unheard by most, except for Lily. The stakes could not have been higher. For Rex, trapped and vulnerable, every minute in that cage was a fight for survival. For Lily, who had yet to speak her first words, this was more than just an animal in danger. It was a call to action that would test the limits of her courage. The bond between them was unspoken but powerful, and it was this bond that would spark a rescue so extraordinary it would captivate the hearts of everyone who heard the story. Tom's farm was more than just a home. It was a lifeline. It was where broken creatures found hope, and where a little girl learned what it meant to be brave. When the storm rolled in and the rain started pounding against the roof, no one expected that the quiet little farm would become the stage for an act of heroism that would change everything. As the creek swelled with floodwaters, the danger was growing with it. The rising water threatened to drown Rex, and time was running out. The town's silence had been broken by the baby girl's steps outside, her small figure moving with determination through the rain. She was about to face the storm head-on, not just for herself, but for the dog who had silently waited for a miracle. This was not just a rescue. It was a battle against fear, against despair, against the odds that threatened to overwhelm them all. The survival of Rex depended on the bravery of a child who had never spoken but whose heart spoke louder than words. And for Lily's family, the rescue would become a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest times, love and courage could light the way. The storm had rolled in without warning, dark clouds swallowing the sky and rain pouring down like a relentless waterfall. The old farmhouse creaked under the weight of the tempest, and the creek behind the property swelled dangerously, its usual gentle flow turning into a churning, angry rush. Inside, the soft glow of the fireplace barely warmed the shadows as little Lily sat quietly by the window, her wide eyes watching the storm rage outside. But something stirred in her young heart. A whisper carried on the wind, a faint sound that tugged at her with an urgency she couldn't ignore. It wasn't the thunder or the howl of the wind that caught her attention, but a desperate, muffled cry. Lily's gaze sharpened, and without hesitation, she slipped from her chair and wrapped herself in her yellow raincoat, the bright fabric a stark contrast to the gray world beyond the glass. Her tiny boots splashed through puddles as she stepped outside, the rain soaking her hair and clothes, but the chill was no match for the fire burning inside her. She moved with a purpose that surprised even herself, following the plaintive whines that led her toward the back of the farm, to where the creek ran closest to the trees. The ground was slippery, muddy from the earlier rain, and the air was thick with the scent of wet earth and leaves. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the tangled brush and casting eerie shadows. Then, in the flash of one particularly bright bolt, Lily saw it. A metal cage, half submerged in the rising water, struggling against the flood's creeping fingers. Inside the cage, two German shepherds huddled together, their bodies soaked and trembling. Their eyes, wide and pleading, caught the beam of Lily's flashlight. They were trapped, pressed into the cramped metal prison with barely room to move, the water rapidly rising around them. The animals' breathing was ragged, their coats matted and slick with mud and rain. One of the dogs whimpered softly, a sound so raw and broken it pierced Lily's heart. Lily's small hands reached toward the cage bars, fingers slipping through the cold metal, trying to comfort the terrified creatures. Her eyes never left their gaze, full of pain and silent hope. She didn't fully understand why the dogs were trapped here, but she knew they needed help, and she knew she was the only one who could give it. Her face was a mixture of innocent worry and fierce determination. Despite the chill biting at her skin and the storm's fury all around, she knelt by the creek, ignoring the cold water beginning to soak her boots. The cage's padlock glinted cruelly in the lightning flashes, a heavy barrier between the dogs and freedom. Lily tugged gently at the bars, but the cage held fast. She looked around desperately for something, anything, that could help. The mud under her knees made her slip once, but she stayed focused. Her breath came in soft gasps, eyes scanning the ground for a stick or rock. But there was nothing close enough to reach without stepping further into the water, and the current was growing stronger. The tension thickened like the storm clouds above. The water was already lapping at the dogs' bellies, the flood's relentless rise threatening to swallow them whole. The stronger dog, with a white star-shaped patch on her chest, pushed herself against the cage walls, while the other, visibly weaker and limping, trembled with exhaustion. Lily's heart pounded as she realized the danger was worse than she feared. The cage could be underwater within minutes. She had to act, and fast. Tears mingled with the rain on her cheeks, but she refused to back down. This was her moment to be brave, to become the hero she had always dreamed of being. Her small voice, barely above a whisper, called to the dogs. "It's okay. I'll help you." But help was not easy. The dogs flinched, scared by the presence of this small, strange figure so close to their torment. The stronger dog barked softly, a warning, and the weaker one whimpered again. The cage's bars were unforgiving, and the cold, swirling water made every step treacherous. Lily's mind raced, how to free them without tools or adult help. She tried pushing against the padlock with her tiny fingers, but it refused to budge. The current tugged at her sleeves, and the mud pulled at her boots, threatening to pull her in. She looked up briefly toward the farmhouse, the warm glow of a single window a stark contrast to the storm's menace. But no one was coming. She was alone, and it was up to her. The scene was painted with stark contrasts. A helpless girl, soaked to the bone, battling nature's wrath. Two desperate dogs trapped in a cage destined to be swallowed by the rising creek, and the roaring storm overhead, indifferent to the suffering below. Suddenly, a gust of wind whipped through the trees, shaking loose a broken branch that fell near Lily's feet. She grabbed it instinctively, her arms trembling from cold and fear but fueled by the purest form of courage. She returned to the cage, brandishing the branch like a tool, but even with this, the lock was a cruel puzzle. The branch wasn't enough to pry the heavy metal clasp. Minutes passed, the water inching higher, licking at the edge of the cage door. The weaker dog's whines grew more urgent, her breaths shallow and fast. Lily pressed her small body closer, whispering words of comfort she barely understood herself. "I won't let them take you," she said softly. "I promise." It was then that something extraordinary happened. As if responding to the fierce love and innocence radiating from the little girl, the padlock suddenly clicked, loosening in her grip. Lily's eyes widened in disbelief. Her tiny fingers worked with newfound strength, and the heavy door creaked open, swinging free into the stormy night. The stronger dog leapt out immediately, swimming with surprising strength despite her condition. The weaker dog hesitated, too weak or frightened to move. Without hesitation, Lily reached into the cage, wrapping her arms around the trembling creature's neck. Though the dog was much larger than Lily, she held on tightly, her determination unyielding. Together, they waded through the cold water toward the muddy bank where safety awaited. The rain blurred the edges of the world, but Lily's focus never wavered. Behind them, the storm roared, but in that moment, the world seemed to hold its breath, witness to a miracle born of innocence and courage. Jack, Lily's grandfather, finally arrived, breathless and soaked from the chase. His eyes filled with tears as he saw the scene. His granddaughter, soaked and shivering, holding two German shepherds out of harm's way. The weight of relief pressed down on him, but so did the growing awareness of the fight still ahead. This rescue was only the beginning. The rain had started as a gentle drizzle, but now it was pounding hard against the earth, turning the small creek near Lily's home into a fast-moving stream. Wrapped in her bright yellow raincoat, Lily stood at the edge, eyes wide with worry. The storm raged around her, but her heart was set on one thing: the two German shepherds trapped in the rusty metal cage half submerged in the rising water. Her breath caught as she took in their desperate situation. The water was already lapping at their bellies, cold and swift, and their heavy bodies looked tired and weak. Both dogs were pregnant, their swollen bellies pressed against the cramped bars, eyes pleading silently for help. Lily's small hands trembled, but her determination grew stronger with every heartbeat. She knelt by the edge, trying to reach through the bars. The cage door was secured with a heavy padlock that wouldn't budge. Panic flashed in her eyes, but Lily didn't give up. Her fingers searched the muddy ground, grasping for anything she could use. A broken branch, a rock, anything that could help. The dogs whimpered softly, sensing her kindness, and the larger ones stretched forward, gently licking her fingers through the bars. Lily smiled softly, feeling a connection she couldn't explain, a bond of trust that gave her courage. But the lock was stubborn. The water was rising faster now, and the current was growing stronger. Time was slipping away. Lily's breath hitched as the weaker dog struggled to stay afloat, her strength fading by the second. Suddenly, an idea struck her. She picked up a sturdy piece of wood lying nearby and wedged it beneath the lock, pushing and pulling with every ounce of her small strength. Her arms ached, rain soaked through her clothes, but she kept going. Just as the water reached her waist, the padlock clicked open. A gasp escaped her lips. The cage door swung wide, and without hesitation, the stronger dog leapt into the cold water, swimming fiercely toward the shore. The weaker dog hesitated, too exhausted to move, and Lily didn't hesitate either. She reached in, wrapping her arms around the trembling animal's neck. The dog was heavy, far heavier than her tiny frame should manage, but Lily's grip was unwavering. Slowly, inch by inch, she pulled the dog free, steadying her as they both struggled against the cold current. When they finally reached dry land, Lily collapsed beside the dogs, tears streaming down her cheeks, not from fear, but from relief and overwhelming love. Her grandfather, Jack, had arrived just in time to witness the miraculous scene. His heart swelled with pride and amazement as he scooped Lily into a tight embrace, whispering, "You're a true hero, my brave girl." Neighbors gathered, their faces a mixture of shock and admiration. They had heard the commotion and rushed out, unsure what to expect. But when they saw Lily's small figure beside the two rescued dogs, they knew a miracle had happened. The dogs, once trapped and helpless, now rested on warm blankets in Jack's barn, their sides heaving but safe. Lily stayed close, never leaving their side, whispering soft words of comfort. The bond between her and these animals had changed everything, not just for the dogs, but for the whole community. That night, as the storm finally passed, the barn was filled with quiet gratitude. The bravery of a little girl had turned a desperate moment into a story of hope, courage, and love. The storm had passed, but its echo lingered in the hearts of everyone who witnessed the rescue. Lily sat quietly in the warm barn, wrapped in a thick blanket, her small fingers gently stroking the soft fur of the stronger German shepherd. The dog, now named Stella by her grandfather Jack, leaned into Lily's touch, eyes reflecting a calm she hadn't known in weeks. The ordeal had left both of them exhausted, but something deeper had blossomed, a bond forged in the fire of shared survival. Physically, the dogs were fragile. Stella's swollen belly was still tender from her long confinement, and her companion, Luna, was weaker still, though she rested safely on fresh straw, surrounded by warmth and care. Jack and the local vet worked tirelessly through the night, providing nourishment, medicine, and endless reassurance. But it wasn't just the dogs who had changed. Lily's face, once shadowed by silence and fear, now glowed with a quiet confidence that surprised even her family. Before that night, Lily had been withdrawn, her world small and guarded. The accident that had silenced her seemed to have shrunk her spirit. Yet, after reaching into the cold, rising water and saving lives far beyond her own, something inside her had shifted. She had spoken again, not just words, but bravery, kindness, and fierce love. Her eyes sparkled with a newfound light, and for the first time in months, she laughed, a soft, genuine sound that filled the barn with warmth. News of the rescue spread quickly through the small town. Neighbors and friends came by, some bringing food, others offering blankets or gentle smiles. They were amazed that a child so young could perform such a heroic act. At the local community center, whispers turned into celebrations. Lily became a symbol of courage and hope, reminding everyone that even the smallest among us could make the biggest difference. Jack watched with pride and awe as his granddaughter began to blossom before his eyes. He saw her shy smiles grow broader, her steps more assured. She no longer flinched at loud noises or hid from visitors. Instead, she spoke softly about the dogs, about hope, and about a future where kindness could overcome cruelty. The rescue had sparked a healing not just for the dogs, but for Lily herself. The bond between Lily and Stella deepened with each passing day. They were inseparable. Lily's whispered stories comforted Stella's restless nights, and Stella's gentle presence calmed Lily's anxieties. It was as if the trauma they shared had intertwined their souls, creating a connection that went beyond words. Family members and friends who visited often remarked on the transformation. Jack's sister, Mary, wiped tears from her eyes as she watched Lily playfully chase the puppies around the barnyard. "She's a different child," Mary said softly. "Stronger, braver, full of life again." The townspeople agreed, inspired by the story of resilience that had unfolded in their own backyard. Yet, beneath the joy, there was still a quiet understanding of what had been lost. The scars of the past were not erased overnight, but with every tender moment between Lily and the dogs, those scars softened, replaced by the healing power of love and trust. This rescue was more than an act of saving animals. It was a story of redemption and hope. Lily's courage had rekindled not only her own spirit but the hearts of everyone around her. The community stood united, ready to protect their own, inspired by the unbreakable bond between a brave little girl and the German shepherds she saved from the water's edge. Just as the warmth of victory seemed to settle over Lily and her family, life had other plans. The rescue was only the beginning of a far more complex and dangerous journey, one filled with secrets lurking in the shadows and threats no one could have foreseen. The peaceful days after the rescue were short-lived, replaced by a series of unsettling events that tested Lily's courage once again. It began quietly. Luna, the weaker German shepherd, who had barely survived her ordeal, started showing signs of illness. Her breathing grew shallow, and she became lethargic, barely responding to the gentle touch of Lily's hands. Jack, with decades of veterinary experience, was puzzled and concerned. The scars on Luna's body hinted at more than just physical wounds. They suggested something deeper, perhaps even medical experiments. The dog's fragile condition sent ripples of fear through the small family, reminding them that danger still lingered close. Meanwhile, strange figures began to appear near the outskirts of town. Black cars with tinted windows prowled silently along the dusty roads. Neighbors whispered about mysterious strangers asking questions about the dogs and the little girl. It became clear that the villains who had once abandoned Stella and Luna in the flooded cage were not done yet. They wanted their property back, whatever that meant. The rescue had disrupted a hidden world, one filled with cruelty, secrets, and dark motives. Despite the rising tension, Lily's bravery never faltered. Her eyes, bright with determination, faced these new challenges head-on. Where others might have hidden in fear, she stood firm, her bond with the dogs growing even stronger. There were moments when she seemed almost to understand things beyond her years, whispers of the past, and hints of a mystery that stretched far beyond the borders of their quiet town. One afternoon, as Jack was examining Luna with a portable ultrasound machine, Lily sat nearby clutching Stella's soft fur. Suddenly, Lily's face changed. She whispered about strange voices she could hear, not from the animals, but something else entirely. Something hidden. The idea sent a chill through Jack's spine. Could the dogs have been part of a secret experiment? Had the people who locked them in that cage been testing something far more sinister? With growing urgency, Jack and Lily began piecing together clues. Old documents, cryptic marks on the dog's ears, and Luna's mysterious health issues pointed to a larger story, a story that no one in their town was prepared for. The dogs were not just victims, they were part of something much bigger. A shadowy organization was watching, waiting for the right moment to reclaim what they believed was theirs. The tension ratcheted up with every passing day. A late-night break-in at the farm was narrowly foiled by Stella's protective instincts and Lily's quick thinking. It became a race against time, to keep the dogs safe, to uncover the truth, and to protect Lily from those who would stop at nothing to silence her. Amidst this turmoil, Lily's spirit shone like a beacon. Her resilience, fueled by love and a fierce sense of justice, inspired everyone around her. Even when fear threatened to take hold, her courage lit the way forward. It was clear that whatever darkness had shadowed her past, Lily was determined to fight for a future filled with hope and safety. But the story was far from over. As the community rallied around Lily and the dogs, questions remained unanswered. Who were the people behind the captivity? What secrets did they hide in their shadows? And most haunting of all, what price would Lily and her new family pay to uncover the truth? The days ahead promised new challenges, but also new strength. The bond between Lily and her brave German shepherds had already proven unbreakable. Together, they faced an uncertain future, standing tall against forces determined to reclaim what was lost. This unexpected twist had transformed their story from a simple rescue into a thrilling journey of survival, courage, and hope. And as night fell over the small town, the fight was only just beginning. After days and nights filled with uncertainty and danger, the storm finally began to calm. Lily and the German shepherds, having faced unimaginable trials, emerged not just as survivors but as symbols of resilience and hope. Luna's health gradually improved, nurtured by Jack's expert care and Lily's unwavering love. Stella, ever the protective mother, watched over her puppies as they grew stronger, each little one a testament to the power of survival. The community, once silent witnesses to the tragedy, now rallied around the family with warmth and admiration. Neighbors offered help, friends shared stories of the heroic rescue, and local authorities promised protection against those who sought to do harm. Lily's bravery became a beacon of light, inspiring everyone who heard her story. The quiet little girl who once hid behind silence now stood tall, her voice carrying strength and compassion. This journey had taught everyone important lessons about courage, empathy, and the enduring bond between humans and animals. Lily's story reminded us that even the smallest among us can spark incredible change. Her actions showed that bravery doesn't always roar. It can be a quiet determination to do what's right, even in the face of fear. The German shepherds, once prisoners of cruelty, now lived with dignity and love. Their spirits, though scarred, were healing alongside Lily's. Together, they had found a family, one forged not by blood but by shared courage and unbreakable trust. Their story was a powerful reminder that love has the power to heal wounds and overcome even the darkest of pasts. As the sun set on their peaceful farm, Jack sat beside Lily and the dogs, feeling a profound sense of gratitude. He knew their fight was not just about saving lives. It was about inspiring hearts and changing minds. Lily's journey was far from over, but she had already left a mark on the world, teaching us all that hope shines brightest in the darkest moments. To those watching this story unfold, there is a call to action. Let Lily's courage remind us to stand up for the voiceless, to protect the innocent, and to cherish the bonds that unite us all. Share this story to spread hope, donate to animal rescue organizations, and recognize the quiet heroes in your own communities. As the screen fades to black, the echo of Lily's bravery lingers, a gentle reminder that love and courage can transform lives, heal wounds, and light the way for a better tomorrow. Sometimes, the most profound connections are the ones we can't explain. If this story moved you, let us know in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe to continue exploring the mysteries of life. Until then, remember, there's magic in the unknown.